Okay, welcome. Welcome to celebrating the value of women's leadership and empowerment. And we're very blessed by having a great representation of women leaders from Japan, Akiko Kadota, from Monterrey, Mexico, Consuelo del Castillo, from Jakarta, Indonesia, Deepri Kimala, from Houston, Texas, Donna Hiley, from Paraguay, Asunción, Monica Lucena, from Dubai, Emirates, Natalia Weidemeyer. And we would like to welcome in this conversation about what are the great opportunities we have to support gender equality, gender parity, empowerment of women, women in leadership positions. We're aligning our efforts with the International Women's Day, with the United Nations and the other entities globally, like the European Community, African Union, and Asian Pacific Union, in this process of creating awareness, advocating and suggesting and taking actions to improve the challenges of gender equality and women empowerment. We are preparing and inviting our members in Click Institute to be very close to this matter, to this challenge. And we are being part of the I Choose to Challenge a campaign of the International Women's Day. And we are encouraging everyone to start with a personal commitment to challenge anything that is not in the basic levels of equity, of parity, of mutual respect, inclusion. And that is the effort we want to have from Click Institute. So this is a great time. Let's start then conversing about what do you think about the advancements, the improvements of the inclusion of women in leadership positions, the empowerment of women, the challenge of gender equality and parity at the workplace, in our universities, in our society, and generally in positions of leadership in government. So please, Akiko, if you would like to start from your perspective, it will be amazing.
Okay, thank you. And hi, everyone. I'm from Kagoshima, Japan. It's a southern tip of Japan. And it's kind of cold right now. It's 10 p.m. on Women's Day. Really enjoying the time to spend with you all. My experience is a little different from general Japanese population, where I used to live in the States, in California, and I went to school and worked for 10 years. I worked for 10 years, went to school longer. So I have experienced the American workplace where there were much more gender equality. Even though a lot of women colleagues complained about some uncertain parity, I was able to enjoy being the boss of my department. And no one really cared that I was from Japan, or I was Asian, or I was Japanese, or women. It really didn't come up when I became an art director, which was a top position for the television station I was working for in the art department. So it really didn't occur to me that being a woman was a disadvantagement until I came back to Japan and I started working for a Japanese company, which my family was running. So it's a family business, but the way things were going was very much a traditional Japanese societal ways. Initially, I started at the bottom and became the president of the company, and we had about 200 people at the printing company. Every time I went to a social for business owners functions, I would see maybe one or two female business owners. So, and many times I was the only female company president at functions of hundreds to hundreds of other male business owners. So I had to get used to that scene very quickly. But at the same time, I felt that it was my duty and maybe I wanted to make more friends in the business community. So I wanted to cultivate more female leadership in our community. So that's where I opened my eyes to gender equality, I think. So that's my background. Now I have more friends, women friends that are business owners, and we decided to become sort of a casual group that we can discuss anything to do with work and life, so that we have a support community. So we don't have to be alone in our decision making, and it's become much more fun to be in a business community in my hometown. So that's my story. And as far as gender equality in Japan, unfortunately, our gender gap numbers are out of 153 countries, we are at 121, which is just very embarrassing thing for us, for a Japanese society to be ranking that low. So there's a lot we can do to change that. And I'd like to do what I can to change our position on our earth.
That's a wonderful experience, Akiko, the one that you had, the possibility to compare between two national culture dynamics at different workplaces, and how gender takes a place based and linked to national cultures. And that is one of the areas where through Click Institute, we conduct research and we focus on having in mind the importance of understanding the national culture, so you can speak about the priorities of the Sustained Development Goals and how you can connect behavior based on national culture dimensions with the dynamic of society, workplace, and education. And your personal experience is very important too, when you are able to connect it and compare it, and also make spaces of supporting groups and networks to encourage other women to embrace the entrepreneurial spirit and the leadership positions in their own businesses or networks. And I would like to continue with Consuelo. Consuelo, you are an advocate of community dialogue. You are also an expert in digital learning, helping students, professors, researchers, and business and community leaders to get together through technology to create strategies, take actions, and improve their realities. You have experience internationally too. You did your master's degree in Europe, being a Mexican national, and you have been involved with different environments as a teacher at the university as an active community leader. How is your experience? What do you see it from your spaces of work?
Thank you, Fernando, and thank you, Akiko, for sharing your experience. And to all my dear colleagues that have been here, this is going to be a wonderful conversation. Well, actually, during listen Akiko, I can visualize three specific moments of about my experience. First of all, I came from a STEAM world that it's normally and usually leads by men. I don't know why engineering, maths, physics, science. Um, Usually, I remember like when I study in the university here in Mexico, my classroom it was like 27 men's and 3 women's, and it's like a different environment for me. I used to play soccer during I grew up in the university, and also has these behaviors and all the advice that I listen to is like your behavioral and everything is became like more leader, more always focus on the goal and all that stuff. It's kind of related like about that manly environment, and not like women's leaders became more um, like showing on our classrooms and everything. And even though between our own my own colleagues during the university is like a race who became the better one. Not also sorority, like right now I can share with you right now. We used to create these communities about encourage each other to be better, and that's better for me in my specific topic right now. But during this in my personal experience, actually, that was my first arrive to the engineering world. Like start to raise with my other women colleagues instead of helping each other to grow together, because you need to be the best one. You need to be the one who show more, who be more intelligent, who had better grades and all that kind of stuff, instead to work together and create a community. I guess it's like in the middle of my college studies, start to understand the other perspective, and we need to create environments to encourage other women to become engineering, to become mathematicians, and involved in all that kind of stuff, because our own perspective of reality give us the opportunity to show different ways to resolve the same issues that we treat on class, or that we treat on programming and developing process. And it's funny because at the end of our major, our colleagues, we always need to be one different in different teams, because we saw different ways. We saw the innovation from the different perspective. We saw the situation from different points of view. And then I realized the importance of gender equality, the importance of different point of view, the importance of understand our different communities to try to achieve what they needs and what they really needs about it. So the life give me through these different perspectives, and actually the ones of the most thing that I can remember. My mom became a small business CEO here in our family, and she used to work in the construction environment. So it's normally for men, even though you saw on the constructions only men's like working, the engineering, the architectures, and everyone. And I remember the first time my mom said like, I need to be better. I need to be better than them, and they can respect me and they can listen to me. And that's one of the kind of things that during listen Akiko I try to understand, because Mexico also has a really huge gender gap between all these positions. And well, I can talk about a lot of about feminicides and all the violence do we have. I'm not proud of what is happening here in Mexico. And then I have this huge experience to went to Spain and saw a different perspective and try to understand different reality, and we can do better. And I guess I have the fortune to work with two great women's as a partners of the company I used to work, and they give you a great example how they can be not only great CEOs but also respect the personality, and they can share like you don't need to be bossy, you don't need to be manly on your position, you can be your own self and transmit and transcend through your colleagues and everyone.
Very good. Well, that's a wonderful experience, Consuelo. And also specifically in an area, as you mentioned, that traditionally the inclusion of women it has been a challenge, which is the engineering, science, technology. And there is an important progress, though, seeing more and more young girls who code, women who code, and a lot of other initiatives to encourage. One of our members in the Young Leaders Council, Laima Cansola, is a professor of science and technology in Latvia, and she has been an advocate of the rights and inclusion of young girls and young women into the science and technology. The numbers also are increasing. More and more we see women embracing those important roles in engineering and science. And I am very happy that you're part of also of that crusade, inviting young women and women of any age, as your mom, to embrace and own the opportunity of entrepreneurial spirit and leadership. I would like to continue and invite Ditri from Jakarta, Indonesia, to talk about your experience. You also have an interesting background. Being a daughter of a diplomat, you were able to travel to some countries, and you
Yes.
have an interesting combination of being an architect and working in the community development perspective, but also as an editor, as a writer,
Yeah.
and as a communicator. And
Yeah.
you also have combined that with an active volunteer leadership career in
Yes.
Junior Chamber International, as well as Akiko from Kagoshima, who has been also an important leader inside of that international federation of young leaders, entrepreneurs, and active citizens around the world. So Dietrich, welcome and guide us in your
Yeah.
experience.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm in Jakarta. That's the capital city of Indonesia. And Akiko is at 10 o'clock. I'm at 8 o'clock. So we're at 8 o'clock at night. But it's always fun with this discussion. Yes, like Fernando has said, that I have an interesting life following my parents who were diplomats. So at a very young age, I got to go to school in Australia, and then that's where I experienced about a different culture, and which in that culture we were. I remembered vividly that at that time I couldn't speak English. I only know that my name is, how are you, and that. But my teacher, she was very comforting. She said that this is a new friend of yours. She cannot speak English. Don't make fun of her. Help her. So I was welcome, and I felt that, oh, okay, this is how women, or how young women would be treated in a new environment. And then I learned a lot of things when I was in Australia, that we are allowed to talk our minds. We can speak our thoughts without being reprimanded, and it was a valued. So, and then I went back to Jakarta. It was a different thing because at that moment, I remember my teachers said that I couldn't speak Bahasa, my language. All I could speak was English, even though at home we spoke Bahasa, but at that time I was more speaking English. She was like, you don't speak English and you don't speak Bahasa. And I was shocked and I didn't want to go to school. I remembered crying to my mom, said, I don't like this because I remembered my teacher in Australia, she was kind, and why in Indonesia like that? And then, well, then finally I could came over, and then, but then I felt a different, maybe this is about culture. I was more, how do I say it, outspoken. And if I had things I would say out loud. But at that time, I would say girls were not allowed to speak their minds out. But then I said that, okay, maybe this is just a process. Going along, then I went to Abu Dhabi. Uh, I stayed there 4.5 years and then met so many different cultures. And then again, it made a different perspective that, oh, each culture has their own strength, and each women is not defined to a culture, or maybe they're from where they are. Each women have their own mindset, and it's just about how you perceive yourself. So, and then I went to a Catholic school in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates. It was all strict. And then, but then it was all about how we as a student, as women, that we should not confine ourselves saying that, okay, we cannot do it. There was always a push. They always saying that, okay, you can do it because you are able, you can be. So that made my mentality to be stronger, tougher, and then try to overcome. And maybe because of dealing with so many years traveling and having to move so many places, so I got to be adaptive to different types. Then I went back to, then I went to Cairo, and in Cairo, I went to an Indonesian school. It was a different setting because, again, the way was that what I thought in Australia, in Abu Dhabi, that we can have our mind, here we're only, I think it's about you're confined. What the teacher says, you have to listen. Yes, they allowed you to give your mind, but then there was like, okay, better you don't talk too much. Or my friend said, okay, I think you over talk about something. And then I was like, okay, why aren't I allowed to talk my mind? And then at that time, I felt that here, I felt there was some frictions with the women, I mean, the girls in my school, because at that time I was more to playing with the guys. I mean, I felt comfortable because most of my time I had, I mean, friends, guy friends. And for me, it was, I don't know, it was easy to talk to, and like Consuelo, I also like to play the soccer, I mean, football and all that. So it was like, I was so active in being playing basketball or ping pong. And then I was perceived like, hey, you're too, how do I say it? Show off. I said, what? Okay, so that was a different setting. And at that time, I didn't have my parents. My parents were in Indonesia. They had to return. I had to go to Cairo to get my, how do I say it, my Indonesian certificate school. Okay, then when I went to Jakarta, now this is where I learned, wow, it's a different, because I've seen so many strong friends of mine or teachers, but then it's like that, um, we as women have to like um, have to be a bit, I mean, I'm not saying that all of them are like that, but I mean, we just have to restrain. But I didn't want to, because for me, this is me. If you don't like me, then tell me, and then I'll try to change. And then I went to university in Indonesia, in Jakarta. I'm like Fernando said, I took a landscape architect. And that's funny because most of the students there were female, where landscape architect was most well, I think I went there because I thought, wow, this is going to be an easy, easy profession, but it wasn't. It was like an engineer also. We had to measure roads and then parks and all that, and then we have to remember. But at that time, the camaraderie of the friendship of female, I felt it because we were more. And then I said, oh, this is how friendship. I mean, it doesn't mean that I don't have friends, I mean, but it's that I have a more closer friendship. Then coming to work, at that time, after I finished, I continued my parents' business. It was in the agriculture. And then there was a bit like, you're a female, you're educated, and you're in the agriculture business. I said, why? Because there was something like, at that time, it was in the 90s, 98, we had the crisis. So we were in the agriculture, and then people like, why are you in the action? You should be working in an office. You should be, at that time, it was like having a business was something like, it's a no-no. People would prefer to work in an office or in a company. So that was like, okay, a different mindset. But then I overcame that because it's all about, I know that if we come too strong as a woman, they think that, okay, she's too bossy. She's too commanding. And this comes from both gender sometimes. And then when I went to become an editor, journalist, it's a different, because there you don't see, well, okay, sometimes they see you as a gender, but then when you see asking the correct answers and how do you say that, viable answers, then they know, okay, they are talking to a serious journalist, even though at that time I was working for a high lifestyle magazine, premium lifestyle magazine. But then again, sometimes it's all about how you put yourself. You don't put yourself as a leader because you're a woman, but you put yourself as a leader because you're capable. And if and you try yourself that if you're wrong, you say you're wrong and you apologize. But if you're right, you have to be strong enough to defend what you believe. That's what I've tried. And then it's not easy because again, the mindset in Indonesia is like, why are you so strong to voice your concerns? Or even sometimes I have to butt heads, can I say butt heads, sorry, with my boss because if she's wrong. So that was like another culture, like, okay, she may be a female boss, but then if she's wrong, I have to say she's wrong. The same thing when I had a male boss. And then, okay, the organization, GCI, this was a very powerful place to learn, because here I really had to be a person who can serve. This is all voluntary. You cannot be a boss here, and you cannot make this organization as your company because everybody's a volunteer. So here I learned a lot. And then again, the mentality sometimes that I get what my friends said, you're too Western, you're too, what you call it, too strong-headed. But then when I'm working with maybe with a foreigner, they say that, D3, you're too Asian because you're too nice, you're too accepting. I said, okay, I'm in two worlds right now.
Well, that's a good combination of being in two worlds.
Yeah.
I want to recover something you said and link into the experience of Natalia, who has been traveling from Ukraine, Germany, and now Emirates in Middle East. And you said something very important, is that uh, a woman is not because is a leader not because the circumstances, is because of the decisions, and that no matter the culture, each woman is unique. So there might be some patterns in different settings at the workplace, in a particular country or region, but each woman makes her own decisions about the circumstances and about the realities she faces. So, Natalia, you have an experience in banking, in consulting. You are an entrepreneur leading an initiative to reduce the digital divide and develop more digital leaders. Tell us about your experience in terms of gender equality, in terms of women empowerment and leadership. If you can unmute.
Sorry for that. Happens now and then, even to people who only work digitally. Thank you very much, Fernando, and amazing stories. I really enjoyed those stories, all three stories already that we have heard. And I was also thinking of, like what's my story about gender equality or the perception of different genders. And I have realized that maybe, like in this sense, I can even call myself lucky because I was born in the Soviet Union, and there are many things about Soviet Union that were not great, or, like you don't want to be, like there were many beliefs that were put into the children that are limiting. But at least in my experience, gender inequality was not one of them. Because during the Soviet times, we did not have, like everyone was encouraged to work, to educate themselves. There were women who were scientists, women who were teachers, women who were leaders, women who were party bosses, women were everywhere. In my family, my grandma was a very highly professional psychiatrist, clinical psychiatrist. She was also a very strong woman who achieved great things. So she was also one of my examples at that age. And whenever I was as a kid back in the Ukraine, as a child, I didn't take this perception or this bias, or I don't know. I didn't know there is gender inequality back in my childhood. So this is also the belief I took with myself to my adult life, right? So I could travel. I was lucky because I got the scholarship to go for an exchange here to the States as a high school student, which was in that time, just after, like the Cold War was over, and just after the Soviet Union broke down. So I was at my age, one of a very few children who got that opportunity at all. And it was not because I was a girl or because someone was a boy, but because there was this probably merit or somehow I was selected. So that was also nothing that would force me or encourage me to, to fight for gender equality or something. So this is one thing about the Soviet Union. Another thing, this is this International Women's Day. I'm not sure whether 30, 40, 50 years ago, this International Women's Day was celebrated elsewhere in the world, but it was a big, big, big thing around my part of the world, around the past Soviet Union. For us, it was, after a long, cold and dark winter, it was the first holiday in the upcoming spring. There were like the first flowers that were popping on the outside in the forest, or that were imported or whatever from Sochi, from the southern parts of Soviet Union. And this was the day where all men would give flowers to women and would praise women everywhere, starting from the children, from the kindergarten. So this is, and it was always a day off. So this is something that I have, like 8th of March is a very springy day, a very beautiful day, very, like very much a day of praising a woman. So again, it didn't really contribute to any senses that women have to fight for their rights. When I came to Germany, because I didn't have that perception of inequality, I still don't have it. To be honest, I still don't have it. Until now, I think whatever I can achieve or whatever I have achieved or whatever women or men or whoever can achieve, that's why I also took notes about what Diti was saying, that is because of who you are and not because of you're a woman or because you're a man or because you're black or because white. I don't want, like go on that part because we are talking about men, women, but it's because of who you are. So especially this gender inequality, I think that the perception that I'm holding would be something that we, all of us, especially in this round or especially everywhere, would strive to achieve, that we just don't think that there is such a thing, right? So this is, like this is my part of the story. And I also think, this some other aspects that women from my culture are often perceived in our part of the world as well, but men in our part of the world know the women, but especially in other parts of the world, in Germany, for example, it's always, like Eastern European women, they are, like very ambitious and they want to achieve whatever, and they are really pushy and they, to the point of being aggressive. So I probably took it as a cultural bias, but not as a gender bias. Okay. So obviously it's a good thing to, to adapt culturally as well and to learn from that, because that feedback that I was getting, it also, like helped me grow. I was working, as Fernando already mentioned, I was working in consulting, and there were a lot more men in consulting, in my peer group than women. And in a bank, I was a project manager. So there was, in Germany, there were more men, just because, I don't know, because they probably selected. I don't think it's because of gender bias. Anyone can be a project manager, So this, exactly. So this part that we just can achieve from the position of a man or of a woman, whatever we want, should not be limited to our gender roles, or should not be limited to our perception of our gender roles, right? We all do have our roles, and women have in society different roles. I'm also a mother of 3, so it's not that I'm, like only a career woman or something. And I also very much enjoy those roles. And when you don't have, the belief, I also think that in many situations, like I grew up in Soviet Union, or was born in Soviet Union. I lived 2 years in total in the United States. I lived many, many years in Germany, and now in the Middle East. I see these positive initiatives and I welcome them. And I'm also a member in many women support groups. And what I also see that what women can do, like not to fight the gender inequality, but more put their energy into actually supporting each other and helping each other, and not trying to secure their own power or role or advancement or whatever. So those are the things that I believe in, and I wish that would be universally perception of facts. I don't know. Yeah.
That's a very important point, Natalia. I just, as part of the research, preparing ourselves to this conversation, I found one line in Europe that is, "Don't talk about me. I am a woman and I know my rights and I am equal. I don't need anyone to talk on my behalf." So that's a great posture. That's a great perspective, is I have my rights, I am equal, and I don't want or need anyone to talk on my behalf. I will open the path. Of course, we welcome the help, okay? We welcome the sponsors, we welcome the mentors, but it's every single individual who opens the path towards greatness. And that's a great experience. Monica, you are a young woman. You are starting your university in psychology. You have been exposed to different cultures. and you speak different languages. Um, what is your experience in terms of being a woman, feeling that you can do and accomplish your dreams?
Hello, everyone. Um, I believe that the key is education in everything. Um, uh, since always our parents or grandparents, older people, always educate us under culture based on that the fact that the man is superior, that the woman. Um, but we as sisters, as parents, as brothers, as friends, we have to teach men and women that there is not uh, that situation, that there is not a gender superior or inferior to another. Um, and that we girls, women can also reach high levels of um, like the jobs as the man. Um, and as I'm saying, the education is everything because we have to put that into the minds of the people uh, since a very little age, since they are children. Um, we can make them have an open-minded, open mind. So, well, luckily we are improving our societies thanks to that, to open-minded people. And more people are aware of the importance of this topic. Um, and
So in your experience, you're coming also from a country that has a high level of domestic violence against women, like Consuelo from Mexico. Also, I am from Venezuela. We have a high rate of domestic violence, and the balance between men and women is a challenge. So the message you're saying is extremely powerful. If we start with children, and those young girls, telling them that they have everything they need intellectually, emotionally, and physically, and existentially to succeed and to embrace their dreams, we are making a change. There are some social challenges though. But I fully agree with you, Monica, that education is critical. I want to jump from your experience to Donna Harley. Donna is the founder of a leadership development firm, and she has been working extensively in the talent development area. So education is critical, and she has linked in the past in different interventions the importance of how she was educated and how education plays a role into the success of any woman when he is leading or initiating an entrepreneurial experience. So Donna, all the way from Houston, Texas, tell us about your story.
You know, to connect with what everyone is saying, especially Monica, about the importance of education and women's initiative. As a very young child, my parents, who were educators, who also experienced a lot of heartache and pain as far as being adults in the 60s and early 70s. And as a kid, um, I remember them telling me, you know, Donna, you have to get your education. You have to not only do well, but do better. I remember I remember an incident that came up when I was in high school. I was talking to a couple of general friends of mine, and one of the things that one of them said, well, Donna, well, I don't understand why you always have to speak correct English, and why you always have to basically articulate, and being that I was in an environment where I went to school and I was more of a minority versus a majority, even my own friends who were like me would say, well, you know, you want to act like you're someone that you're not, your own color. So, you know, those were things and cultural things that were bombarding me and people, women, young women at that time, that they were having to face as they were trying to grow and to be educated and to study. And one of the I was very fortunate, and this kind of goes back with what Natalia was saying. As when I graduated from undergraduate with my undergraduate degree, I was able to go work for an organization that was pro-female. It didn't mean there were representative on their board of directors that were female. There weren't any African American females yet, but however, there was a role there, and the whole culture of the organization reflected female empowerment. In where my location, in many of the locations, there were a lot of female leaders, directors, managing directors, and they were so generous in giving their time, resources, and their life, their professional story of how they got to where they were. And so being able to grow up in that environment, being new to working, was a major asset for my growth, considering where I was coming from. And on the flip side, as I grew in that company and wanted to take on additional roles and responsibilities and was recruited by another organization, I've seen the flip side, where when I walk in, there's no one like me. There's no one of color like me. I'm walking into a meeting and everyone in there, they're all male and they're well north of 50. And it was an organization that was really trying to pivot to be able to bring women into their organization, but it was hard. It starts at the top, and it's like the Titanic, you should have turned at the port. You know? So I've experienced both of them, and what I can offer and say to young women that are kind of in those two worlds is, my lesson learned was to be who you are, and to represent who you are. Always listen first, then speak. And at the end of the day, always show that you're approachable, because sometimes people just need that little in to be able to connect. And that's the advice that I would offer. I've had the opportunity to be on both sides of the fence, and being able to experience that has made me a better person, to be more open and receptive to all cultures, no matter who or what you represent. And I think as women, if we bring each other along, and not in an atmosphere of such competition, but of camaraderie and collaboration, who knows, the young ladies that are coming behind us, they will not have to experience hardly any of this, and they can continue to run the race.
Wonderful, wonderful, Donna. What inspiring set of words. And we have a couple of minutes to close, and this has been an amazing exchange of experiences. And knowing you, listening to you more, we understand the power we have in our hands to guide young women, women of any age, girls, to embrace what they want to accomplish, and to have the proper plans and actions to achieve what they deserve. No matter the cultural differences, no matter the realities in each of their environments, they deserve the opportunity to accomplish what they want. As a final message, I would like to ask you to do 30 seconds of final statements, inviting those who are going to be enjoying the learnings of this conversation and this exchange of experiences to learn from you. Akiko, if you want to lead us.
Thank you, and I really enjoyed hearing. Well, Donna had the same experience that I had experienced, being in a room full of people who are completely different from myself, and people in the higher age group and male. And many of us had similar experiences, even though we are in different parts of the world. So that was a kind of an empowering experience to listen to all of us speak about our experience, and that's what gives us courage to move on and pull people who have lots of experience and skills and willingness to do more but aren't able to. And I'm seeing a lot of that around me in Japan because it's more of a male dominant society. Women are not given the opportunity yet for what they deserve. And I feel that I myself and my friends, female friends who are able to give and make opportunities for those who don't have the confidence to say, yes, I can, and make a platform for other girls and women to experience more so that they can do more. So that's what I'm trying to do. So I was reminded of why I really enjoyed the Click Institute experience, because we learned that learning is the most powerful thing for us to be happy and move forward. So thank you very much for this experience. It's good to be with you all. Thank you.
Thank you. You're a very active part of our community.
Thank you.
A final message.
Thank you, Fernando. Thank you to all of you. I can relate to two things and close with that. One is something that I listened from a Click Institute meeting, I guess. We became long life learners, and this is a huge experience. Like, and connect with the Monica and Donna said about education. We need to became long life learners about culture, about gender, about the all things happen right now across globally, and no matter how the way we are. And the other thing that I love it to, when we start a community dialogue, we start to say, besides your thoughts, connect with your heart. And that's one of the main things that I listen to Natalia, and all my life, my family said, like, you can do better, you can do it, you can do it. And that's something it's inside of my brain, like everything that I can want to achieve, I can achieve it and do it better. And that's how, like, the three things became long life learners about gender equality, about cultural, about different things. Connect with your hearts, and if you want it, you can do it. Just became a part of a community. And I love this word that says sorority. Became a woman for a community to work together to become better, no matter where you are, no matter your gender and anything about that. So Click Institute is kind of environment that can create that kind of community, globally community, and that's wonderful for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Titri, your final message.
Okay.
And then Donna, Natalia, and Monica.
Well, first thing that we as a person, not as a woman, we should be strong within ourselves. We should educate ourselves. We should believe in ourselves. And then the most thing, we should be supportive of others. If we don't support each other, how can we support ourselves? So first we have to be supportive of ourselves and then be supportive of others. That's my last
Thank you, Dimitri.
saying. And thank you so much for this opportunity. And I hope Click Institution really makes this a power engine, a locomotive that is not just based, okay, now we are in Zoom, but it's going to be actively in the community. So well done, Fernando and team. Thank you for
Thank
this
you.
opportunity.
Thank
And
you,
thank
Dimitri.
you for the others to share their beautiful, beautiful experiences.
Thank you. I would like to jump to Natalia before I go to Donna. If you can unmute, Natalia.
I'm so sorry. Um, so my final message is very similar to what's already has been said, that the power is within us. And if we are confident that we can do this, if we are confident, if we are motivated to be as women, as beautiful, amazing, diverse, different, each one of them unique women we are, to be a better self for ourselves and support each other, along with men. First of all, it's going to be a good example. So the good example creates good energy, and it's going to be, like a snowball effect, kind of more of it. And second of all, come on, women, we are not even a minority. It's half of the world population. If we want to do it, the power, like not only even the power, but that good energy is all with us to make this world a more equal place between the men and the women. Thank you.
Thanks to you. Thanks. Wonderful message, Natalia. Monica, your final message?
Well, I think I encourage people to educate others and educate themselves um, um, of this, and not only talk about this on special day, but making it an habit. Talking about that every day, and so that way we can pass to generation to another, and then modify the culture, and it will be a better place.
Oh, thank you, Monica. Great message. Donna?
We owe it as women to be able to give back. And that means that for us to find in whatever our small space, our small area of influence and connection, to be able to give back and be of service. And a lot of times people think it's some grand process that you have to go to, but it could be as simple as you're shopping and you smile at someone and you make a connection, and then they ask you questions and you tell them, about yourself and what you do, and you just never know how you may inspire someone. And I think that women that have been out there working and developing themselves, it is our time to start telling our story. And it's with our story that's going to bring along the amazing generation of young women that are behind us, so that, to Natalia and Monica's point, they can do better and be better than us. And that's how we're going to be able to move that needle. And then also for us to be that listening ear, listen to what people are saying and be connected, and and also surround yourself with women to be able to move the needle forward. So be of service somehow, some way, some process, and know that just your little piece that you're doing comes together with all of our pieces that's going to really move us forward and really connect us as being gender inclusive.
Definitely. Thank you, Donna. I think we couldn't have ended with a better message than the one that you are summarizing in terms of the final challenge we have, which is ensuring that we are providing opportunities for learning and execution of ideas for women of any age and any environment and culture. through Click Institute, we are ensuring that that happens. We are reducing the digital divide in terms of digital literacy. We are educating digital facilitators around the world. And we're always ensuring that gender parity exists in our teams. And that is a firm commitment from the servant leaders who are supporting the think tank. And we are opening these type of conversations. The exchange of stories, or you're saying, Donna, is one of the projects we are starting, inviting women who lead in Click Institute and around our projects and communities in the more of 33 countries and cultures that were present, to share their stories. We're going to have a repository of stories of women leadership in our website. We're going to be populating videos and podcasts, sharing those stories. And today we just started. So thank you very, very much to all of you. Thank you for exchanging your experiences and also your ways of moving forward towards the greatness that you are showing and that you have already demonstrated as part of our community. So thank you very much. Please, all of you who are going to be enjoying this exchange of stories about women leadership and empowerment, share this conversation with others. Use it in your organizations, your universities, schools, companies, and even in your families. Discuss the experiences of our women in leadership and use that to encourage every single girl and woman to be able to embrace and accomplish their dreams. Thank you very much, and celebrate the International Women's Day. Enjoy your day, enjoy your brightness and greatness.